So today we're talking about this behind me, lighting, specifically what you can do essentially with just one light source. And so just a few safety tips on the side of caution before we get started. Something I like to do is hold out the biggest leg from the opposite side of where the light dome is or the light is facing. That way you're kind of creating already like a counterbalance, and then you add the sandbag on the biggest leg. Make sure it doesn't touch the ground so the gravity is keeping that sandbag down, and the C-stand as well, keeping that down. All right, so now that we've covered the safety of the crew, we are now discussing safety of the actual lighting equipment. And what you're gonna wanna do is have some gaff tape handy, so that way you can just tape this down so nobody can trip over it or yank it in any wrong direction. So what I typically do is I take one segment of tape, so it's hitting this piece of tape first before it hits the light. And you're gonna wanna do that basically up until you reach the outlet. And you don't have to do the whole thing, but what I do is I like to do a segment, and so forth. And then also just another small minor tip with this gaff tape is to actually fold in one of the ends. That way during cleanup, you're not trying to scratch off a flat piece of tape. You actually have a little pulley to work with when you peel it off. Okay, now we have the light all set up, ready to go. Camera here, light right here. Typically with lighting, especially in these corporate situations, corporate interviews, testimonials, I like to set up a 3-point light to where I would have a light right here, this light right here, the key light, a fill, and then also I would have a hair light behind me. And what a hair light does is it would detract my body from the given background just to add a little bit more 3D volume, and it makes the shot look a little bit more dynamic. It makes it look more cinematic rather than video, but sometimes you have to use only one light source for many reasons. Maybe the budget's too low, or maybe you don't have enough room in your car to travel with the said light sources, because these lights, as you can see, they're pretty big, they're massive, especially these light domes. They do take up a lot of space, they're heavy, and sometimes you just don't want that burden. But also it could be that you are trying to incorporate a style of some sort, maybe a little bit more shadow, maybe a little bit more edgy noir look, and we're kind of getting that vibe here, but the shadows are a little too soft on my face, I would say, for that style. This looks, I would say, kind of cinematic in my opinion. Of course, we can do a lot more to make it even more cinematic, but this is definitely in the steps towards cinematic. Without this giant softbox on here, this giant dome, the light would be a lot more harsh on my face. And I'll show you in 3, 2, 1. This is what it looks like without the softbox. The shadows, like I mentioned, they're a lot darker, more crispy, a little bit more of an edge to them. This feels more video than cinema. And again, you see a lot of this more so in noir films. So if I color graded this to make it look black and white, it would definitely kind of fit that description. And you can do a lot more with this light source too, as well as move it up, move it down, and moving it down and having the lights come up, it just creates a whole different atmosphere, maybe a little bit more spookier, and it would look something more along the lines of this. It's a little too much. I did put the light on the actual ground, so it is pointing up a lot. So the lighting, it looks very drastic, almost as if I was telling a campfire story. This is kind of the vibe that I would go for. Maybe make the light flicker. There was once a ghost who just could not stop haunting me, and he lived in my attic. His name was Fred, and he wouldn't pay the rent. Ooh. It's just a little bit more edgy, a little fun to play around with, and you can achieve a lot of cinematic looks with this kind of light source as well if you had multiple lights. But we're only working with one light, and I'm just showing you guys exactly the outcomes of what this one light will provide you in these certain scenarios. Okay, so now in this style, I am actually lighting the background instead of me, and what this does is it creates kind of a mystery. Who is this guy?
Maybe I have a voice box on him. They're hiding my identity.
I've never really actually used this lighting technique a lot, just because there just haven't been a lot of circumstances for me to utilize it. Now, I have definitely lit up the backgrounds before, as well as me or someone who is the actual subject of the video, but in this situation, it's pretty rare that you would ever use something like this, although this is a technique that you would employ a lot if you had more than one light source to work with. Not as drastic as the previous light source where we had it actually on the ground. In this case, we actually have the light source bouncing off the wall and almost bouncing back to us. It's almost almost like Cove lighting in a way, because this is a wraparound wall. And so now we've literally just done nothing but move the camera, and we kind of increased and decreased the light intensity. We took off the ND filter off my camera. And so what we're doing here is we're actually bouncing light off of this wraparound wall back onto my face. Now this light, it does have the softbox on. It's also bouncing off the white of the wall. And what it's doing is it's almost diluting that light and having it bounce back at me. And essentially what this is doing is it's causing the light to look a little bit more natural. It looks more so like this is actually something that you would see in a living room or in real life somewhere. And it's supposed to mimic that light source to where it's still soft and makes you look good, and it's still cinematic. You can still see the skin tones here, but it still adds that kind of shadow on your face, that little wrap around. It's ever so slight. You can also see it on my hands with maybe like my veins a little bit here. It's just very shadowy, very soft, very diffused lighting, lots of bouncing sources. A lot of movies have been utilizing this light, and I feel like they're always doing it incorrectly, or they're messing up the exposure in some weird way. They just don't know the right exposure techniques with this kind of wraparound lighting. Maybe I'm also doing it incorrectly here, but I just feel like a lot of movies, they are aiming for this, and it does look good. I just wish that like a lot of the movies that use this technique would brighten up their image just a smidge. I think that'd be pretty nice. Which if you're ever watching any of my movie reviews and I refer to any lighting being really, really good or anything like that, I'm more in line focusing especially with everything that's being presented in this video, in this kind of lighting and the exposure levels, the brightness, the color saturation, how just lighting is working. And yeah, so that's what I mean when I talk about that in some of my movie reviews on my channel. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I know this video is a little out there, a little bit new, but yeah, in my journey to becoming a better filmmaker, I feel like this is going to be a part of the process, and I want to do some more videos like this teaching people how to do some more filmmaking techniques, maybe work on some shorts, some more fun, just, you know, overall filmmaking related topics. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like down below. Comment, did you guys learn anything new, or what kind of video do you want to see next in terms of filmmaking, whether it's editing, camera work, etc. Let me know, again, in the comments down below. And if you guys are interested in watching some more videos, be sure to click somewhere on the screen or hit subscribe with the notification bell, and stay up to date with some of the latest videos, movie reviews that I come out with. Otherwise, yeah, my name's Austin, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.